The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy, this is the ForceCenter podcast feed, and this episode is one of our deep dives, our Bacta tanks of talk, maybe a Bacta swimming pool for the backyard during this hot summer. I'm excited to slosh around in the pool of fun as we discuss lightsaber fights. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
I'm Ken Napzok. This has been so fun, and we're only about to begin our second episode, but even just watching the lightsaber fights a little closer. And I think, Joseph, we want to thank all the fans who've been really excited about the series, and a lot of people tuning in and responding. I think these fights just go straight to our Star Wars kid heart. These lightsaber fights are everything to Star Wars in a lot of ways. So, the first time you see a laser sword ignite, we're tapping into that.
They really do ignite for me, and I'm sure so many fans, like the original love of this weird space fantasy franchise. And then also it's so fun to look at them for the depth, the thrill, and the depth. Brian Ward made the wonderful art that we're using for these shows, and I looked at that art and was like, this looks really exciting. I'd like to talk about that. Oh yeah, that's what the art exists for. So excited to get talking about lightsabers. But before we get into it, we want to let you know that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. This episode, we are recommending the new book, Shadow of the Sith. I have not been able to get into this yet. I have been looking at the cover, that beautiful picture of Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian, and getting excited to dive in. You have cracked this one open, Ken, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm still about halfway through just because life got busy. And we know at ForceCenter we're going to read these at a different pace, and other channels. Alex Damon read his 3 years ago. Book deal that hadn't been signed with Adam Christopher. No, we joke about that, of course, but we love taking our time, and life just kind of dictates that. But I've been like about halfway through, but there's some things, especially early on, where I'm just like, I can't wait till Joseph reads this to discuss it. But I'm not even, and I feel even that's kind of, not a spoiler, but even that's kind of dangling something over your head. Like, that's unfair. But it's been great so far. And it seems like, Adam Christopher's just out and about, doing the book press for it. But him, like Mike Chen before, E.K. Johnston before, just people who just really love Star Wars and are moved by it. And I love when authors get the chance to just really throw their love into the page, and it's there. And we can't wait to discuss it. So out there listening, you get your audiobook and catch up with us.
Excellent. I can't wait to get into it. And if you want to give it a listen, you can download a free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. One more time, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for a free audiobook. All right, we are going to dive into the magic of lightsaber fights, part 2. We are trying to divide up this series so that we have enough elbow room to talk about all these big fights without rushing through them too much. The last episode, our first episode, we talked kind of overview about the magic of lightsaber fights, the thrill of them, and the core themes of Star Wars. But then we also did a little bit of a deep dive into the original lightsaber fight for the big screen, the conflict between Kenobi and Vader in A New Hope. The one that started it all is also now the most recent lightsaber fight on our mind as well, from the Obi-Wan Kenobi television show. But we are going to continue our journey this episode. We're going to discuss the big lightsaber fights of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. As always, we want to be aware that we are discussing these from our own personal perspective. Ken and I grew up with the original trilogy, so we're still in that era of these were our formative fights where we became the fans and people we are today. So that does, that colors the way we discuss them and the way we think about them, right?
Absolutely. There's so many wonderful Star Wars fights and lightsabers, but so many, I said that backwards, so many lightsaber fights in Star Wars. I'm so excited to talk about it. I feel like I'm 7 again, Joseph. We always want to take into account everyone's perspectives, experiences, and all the many fights that follow. But yeah, these 3 from these movies, they're everything to me, because I can't tell you how many times on the playground I was acting out every move I could with these.
Exactly. So we are going to start in the first half of the podcast by discussing Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. Ken, what are your current feelings on this fight, and have they changed over the years from those days where you were acting it out on the playground?
Very much changed. I did not act this one out on the playground a lot. Did not. And I'm really, for this particular episode, trying to go back and maybe deal with myself on that, right? Confront my past, but also see what was in there for me. And look, it's just kind of a simple answer. We're going to be talking in the second half of the show, a fight that is one of more apparent victory to a 7-year-old, right? It ends with Ewoks dancing. This one does not end with Ewoks dancing. And
I've never pictured how Ewoks might react to this fight, and now I'm just picturing Chirpa, shedding a single tear at Luke's defeat.
And I think even as I got older, and even when I was going to college and studying screenwriting and filmmaking and all those kind of things, which all led me back to a radio career, mind you, I think this fight felt, don't get me wrong here, it felt muted in terms of colors, the palette. It's definitely darker, and it's just all around depressing, right? And even where you and I have discussed off air, where you and Mark Riley, friend of the show, love not just Bespin Luke, but a lot of Luke's outfits, Dagobah and beyond, right? Which I know it's 2 or 3, but and I never gravitated towards those, right? And of course, you love, Mark loves, everyone loves, black, dark clothes, Luke and the green lightsaber and the glove, of course. But I think I spent a lot of years looking them only because I think of what the fight is doing. So it's very much changed, not just because I've gotten older, but because of how we look at it and what's there now. Even just this morning, rewatching Empire Strikes Back and watching the fight and knowing I'm trying to study every move, every line, everything said, it does have more of an impact for me now. I wish maybe I could have gone back, and I'm talking to my early 20s, and paid a little bit more attention. I've always loved the fight. It's always awesome. It's always got the great reveal. It's such a part of Star Wars. But I always gravitated towards Ewoks dancing at the end of fights.
Right. So you feel like you were held back more on this is a bummer. Why do I want to watch this bummer? Why do I want to watch Luke's dad hand his posterior to him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. This is amazing, because this is really, we talk about differences of perspective on a generational level, right? This is differences of perspective by 1.5 to 2 years of birth.
Yeah.
Because you saw Return of the Jedi first, as we talk about often.
Yeah.
I have dreamlike memories of seeing A New Hope, but I have clear memories of seeing Empire Strikes Back. I saw it on my birthday on August 17th, and I got to see it again on my brother's birthday on November 2nd. And in between, my entire life was action figures and trading cards and storybooks, and the Empire Strikes Back seeped into my very being, and then I was cognizant in between Empire and Return of the Jedi to think about how would Return of the Jedi build on Empire Strikes Back. And that difference of perspective, I think, I'm sure there's more to it than that, but that's where I start with. I think we're flipped on this I have always loved the Empire fight. In the Return of the Jedi fight, there's a ton that I love about the story, about the meaning, but the actual fight, the thrill, the clashing of blades, it's taken me a little while to go all right, that's cool. We'll talk more about the Return of the Jedi battle, but there's definitely that tension going on between the different fights and our different expectations based on, age and what order you see them in.
And I think that's the way it might always be, right? I mean, the way it kind of works. But it's interesting. It is spoiler for the second half of the show. Wait till we get to thrills and does things stand up, and how I looked at the Jedi fight a little different this time than I think I have in the past. Nothing takes away my love of it, absolutely. But yeah, there's something about this fight that rings. I don't know, it just rings a little different now than it did in the past couple of years. Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. So trying to focus back in on the old Bespin fight here. Look, I will be thoughtful and analytical, but this is also a podcast where we share our truths and our pure beating hearts as Star Wars. I love this. I have a massive bias. It is the lightsaber fight for me. I'm not arguing that it should be for everyone, or it is. It is for me. It is the foundation. It is the template. It is a mix of such cool action beats, just like actual interesting, awesome things with lightsabers and with the Force and this unique kind of combat that can happen in Star Wars. The New Hope was like the little like, let's kind of peek through the curtain a little bit about what this could be, and then the curtain is blown away and there's majesty behind it. It's this lightsaber fight. Absolutely cool thrill. And then one of the most impactful stories within a lightsaber fight, right? One of the most famous moments in cinema is a result of this lightsaber fight. So the emotional stakes are so high, as well as the cool moves. And then the other thing about it that I think kind of created a bias for me is like lightsaber fights should travel and they should travel across unique scenery that is that emotionally evokes what is going on in the fight. These are not words that I used as a child, but I realized that is part of what was seeping in and speaking to me. So I start from a place of loving it. I've never stopped loving it. And it feels like almost every year this fight, along with many other parts of Star Wars, gets, so much richer. Vader's line of "release your anger, only your hatred can destroy me," which is, a line I've always liked, but a line I lost a trivia contest on. But it pops when I have so much more respect for the fact that that's Vader's perspective, that only hatred can destroy him. And in the truth, it is Luke's mercy that is what helps Anakin conquer Vader. And then to have such a news story like the Obi-Wan Kenobi television show make that line even richer when you have that flashback of young Anakin saying mercy doesn't defeat anyone, and he kind of hasn't changed, and he's wrong both times. It all evolves. Big evolution that I want to talk about right at the top, because I think it will play out throughout our discussion this episode of growing up with these movies. We projected onto Luke. I know you projected on to Han a little bit more, but that was the current generation of heroes, and Vader's the bad guy, right? And it's been true since the prequels, but even more as there's more Vader storytelling. It's so different to watch this, and I'm watching it from Luke's perspective and from Vader's.
Yes.
And when I watched it this morning, I've had, years and years and years of I watch it feeling Luke's shock and pain and denial. And this time I'm watching it going like, oh, how does this feel for Anakin Vader to finally say it? To go from, telling Padme this is a blessing to finding out and being tortured to I get to finally tell him, I get to finally reach out and connect. Not in a good or healthy way, but I get to finally reach out and connect with my child, and to really watch it from Vader's perspective is powerful too.
That is an amazing point. And I think I've been feeling that more and more as the Star Wars story has expanded in this modern era, including especially the Kenobi series, man. Kenobi series is another podcast for us to discuss things on, but it has just brought new energy for me, an old dog watching the same old movies again. It's brought new energy to those three films for me. And a lot of it is what you're talking about here. I think more than ever now, I cannot, you're not seeing things from his side, but you are definitely experiencing it with the journey both combatants are going through versus, you're right, he was scary, cape wearing guy that I kind of secretly loved, right? Vader, all the Vader toys, but it's a different feel now. And I'm finding myself even more rewarded for digging in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's always been there that, wow, he's more complex. There's more going on than you expected. I think that was a big part of the intent and the shock in 1980. But it is just amazing how much more powerful it grows over the years with the additional storytelling for me. So let's dive into the fight. For the characters, what's at stake? Why are they fighting? What is victory for both of them? What are your thoughts on that?
Maybe my coffee was a little strong this morning. I don't know. I was thinking about this, like what's truly at stake. And I was like, is it this idea of the truth? And what truth do you want to believe? What truth do you want to face? And what steps do you want to take with all that in mind, the truth in mind? And I think and you kind of touched upon it. I think it's really important. It's a big moment that Vader is acknowledging him as his son. And that's dangerously close to saying, yep, my name is Anakin and I'm a person. Like it's crazy to kind of factor that in now. And how it's just, I don't know, the action of choice is also at stakes, particularly for Luke, once this is kind of presented with him. And Vader's selling the old lie. You can't do anything but join me or die.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all. That's your options. Sorry, there you go. And so in the end, it's like they're both facing themselves here in this battle for me. That's where I start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do really think that it is truth that's at stake. The thing that I have come to really appreciate as an adult is that this is a total misunderstanding from Luke of what the fight is about.
Yeah.
Often in fights, the characters have different perspectives. I think we talked about that in A New Hope, where Kenobi's going into it with the really like, I just want to keep him busy. I can't lose because I'm ready to move on and become one with the Force. And Vader's just on his, he's on his old business of I'm going to prove I'm the master. But here's even richer, I think, because Luke is got this almost great meta perspective. Like Star Wars comes out in 1977 and it's a breath of fresh air. The good guys are mostly wearing white. The bad guys are dark, or the militaristic stormtrooper. And you even got stars like Alec Guinness coming out going like, it's a simple story of good versus evil. We've had years of moral complexity in cinema and all that. And it's almost like Luke is like, yep, it is. I'm the good guy. He's the bad guy. I need to stop the bad guy. And it's a misunderstanding of what the truth is, but it's also a misunderstanding of what a Jedi is, right? And it's, I think it's really powerful that for Luke, his story is just beat the bad guy, win the war, avenge his father, avenge Kenobi, free his friends, and prove himself. Prove what he said to Yoda. I'm not afraid. He thinks that's all it is just don't be afraid. And then I think for Vader, he knows the truth. He knows the nuances. And I think for him, it's all about capturing his son. And that's his stated goal. But I think what he gets to kind of hide and fold into that is the longer he can keep his son alive, there's that possibility of connection, and he's lying to himself about it, right? He's like, no, the dark side is stronger. I believe that. I'm going to capture him and I'm going to bring him to the Emperor, or I'm going to talk him into overthrowing the Emperor. But either way, for Vader, it's like, I beat him, which I know I'm going to do. I beat him, but I beat him in a way that keeps him alive. Either he joins me and we do the whole rule of two thing, and I get rid of Palpatine, or I bring him to Palpatine and he lives a little bit longer.
Yeah. Oh man. Sorry. I got nerd chill. I got those nerd chills and they're multiplying. It's electrifying. Look, going to the idea of victory for Luke, I put like quotation marks around confronting Vader, right? Killing him perhaps in the name of rescuing his friends and saving the day. And he wants to be a hero. This is what great warriors do. So I'm like, Luke doesn't understand what victory is here. He just doesn't. And that, again, goes to the wonderful conversations and lessons that he, wasn't quite listening to on Dagobah. Well, he'll get there. So that's a fascinating thing. But the Vader thing, that is one of my favorite Star Wars what ifs.
Yeah.
Of this idea of like, his goal, bring him in. And I think clearly a lot going on in his head, but it's still, I think he's still like, again, his line, old, too easy. This is what he wants. Freeze him, load the prize up, get on the ship and go. But does he go directly back to the Emperor? Does he do that? I don't think. In my headcanon is nope. He takes him, thaws him out. Here's a cup of calf. Sit down. I got some things to tell you. I got to tell this kid the truth. Like you said, he knows it. He's confronting it. Vader is acknowledging it to himself. The plan's been hatched. So I get really excited about that idea of what we will never see of, him running off to go, here's the plan, because I think his victory condition was get him away from all this and turn him. I just think to what end? And then if he has to kill him, he has to kill him. His obsession has moved from Kenobi to Luke, and this is the big push forward. I really love that part of the fight.
Yeah, no, I love this what if. I can see that in my mind of Luke in carbonite in some horrible pose and Vader just staring, and then he lifts his finger and Luke starts to melt.
Yeah,
and he gives him the old talk. It's not a gender reveal party; it's a parental reveal party that he wants to throw for Luke. Yeah, and I think it's fascinating for this fascinating dynamic because Luke has, like I was saying, this black and white. I am the good guy. He is the bad guy. I will defeat my fear and I will beat him and everything will be great. I'll be a great warrior. There'll be a parade. And for Vader, it is, he knows more, but I think he's still lying to himself. I think he wants to keep Luke alive, but he can only do it in this way of like, I'm not Anakin. I'm not admitting to connection. My son is a tool to overthrow Palpatine and, keep moving with the dark side.
Yeah. And I now often wonder, it's like, I can't help but see Anakin's face. Like I said, I can't help but see Hayden back there, of just some of those moments where he's looking at him, and just, the war going on inside him. Yeah, absolutely there. But I think you're right. I think on the surface, it's cut and dry. Yep. Got this plan. It's all good. It's a tool. I love what you're saying about Luke being this tool to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll talk more about this when we talk about the sort of lightsaber fighting style and all that. But on the kind of what does it mean? What's at stake? What is victory for them? Theme. I was really struck trying to see this fight with fresh eyes after all these years. Part of it's just the lightsaber choreography and the style of sword fighting that they were using. But there's a lot in this fight where Luke is really fighting like his dad, right? These are big, heavy, aggressive swings. The goals at a lot of points in the fight looks like it's just about battering your opponent's defenses. Like some of the strikes are like, yeah, that's a strike at a limb or a head. But sometimes it's just like, I'm bashing away your defenses and knocking you down. That it is really this aggressive type. Luke's fighting like the way Anakin is fighting Obi-Wan in their sparring match,
I really agree with that. And looking at Vader kind of starting the fight more like one-handed. I got this kind of vibe that switches up a little bit of a lot of it. Yeah. And focusing on Luke, pushing the boundaries of aggression, pushing the boundaries of anger, but also just to fight that fear. And this is the way to do it. And yeah, I really like that analysis connecting. It's almost like Anakin's in there going, all right, I got you. You got a little me in me, in you. Like, it's good. All right, cool.
It really is what you got, son. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Impressive.
But I think it really, it boils into Luke is looking at it in this he's looking at this battle in an aggressive way, thinking that is heroic, right?
Right.
And I think underneath there is this buried danger that he is dancing with vengeance, right? Because this is the guy who killed his dad. This is the guy who killed Kenobi. This is the guy who tortured Leia and tortured Han, and has put everything that he has suffered, he and his friends have suffered in the rebellion. This is the guy who killed Biggs, right? That Luke thinks, I am the good guy defeating the bad guy, but he is dancing with vengeance. When Luke is beaten and Vader says, "Don't let yourself be destroyed," as Obi-Wan did, I've always liked that look on his face and that kind of furious battering back. And it really struck me this time of like, yeah, Luke's he is dancing with, is he doing this for vengeance?
Yeah. And again, conflating the two, right? This is what a hero would do. This is why I'm running off. And how dare those friends of mine on that swamp planet tell me no? Yeah. And again, one of those things in Star Wars, I think, is designed to be a little complicated. And what would you do in this situation? A lot of it is disguised as the right choice, but it isn't when you dig down into it. And I think that does kind of show up in the moves.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the environment. We love talking about how the environment of the lightsaber fight helps tell the story or just adds to the thrill factor. That was awesome, great action adventure. Ken, where do you go? Because you said that you've kind of gone on a journey with this where at some points in your life, you weren't as sure about the environment. Mm-hmm. So I'm so curious to hear about your journey and what you think now.
Oh, man, pour another cup of coffee. Here you touched on something earlier that it's fascinating to me. This idea of a lightsaber fight should, and I'm putting quotation marks around should. No one's demanding anything here, but should move, right? And should have up on top, down below, here, this and that, and I think of the Phantom Menace fight, which might be you can't wait to discuss that. We'll jump ahead to the Jedi fight, a little different vibe for me now, but there's something that grabs me more than it ever has before. And I think it was just because, again, going back for me as a youngster, it's like the Jedi scene is dark too, but you got to, everyone looks cool. They're dressed in black. Oh, they got green lightsabers. This is a facility, right? They're in the catacombs. They're in the hallways of the mall. They're fighting. And so it looks a little different. It felt different to me growing up, but now it's just got this, I love that you said the moving thing it's got like 3 acts to the fight. And in a way other fights maybe don't. And it's very much this belly of the beast vibe. right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little more. Go with me here. It's a little more sci-fi than fantasy in a great way. And I think I was, I don't know, maybe scared. Maybe it was a little scary to me in my childhood. I was a little scaredy cat kid because I think I wanted Luke to run away. And when that door slammed shut on R2, it was always like, but your buddy, you're doing this alone. Which is the point, because I think that this entire environment adds to this feeling of isolation of Luke truly being alone, truly trapped. Leia's yelling, "It's trap! It's trap!" As Jeremy Bullock pulls her away, and it's the opposite of the twin sons moment, where he's just dreaming out. There's a life out there for me. I want to go on adventures, and this is like your adventure is you are trapped in a carbonite freezing facility, and ain't no help coming. And I think that was it's so effective, but might have as a kid, I just didn't want to deal with the monster in the shadows.
Oh yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And I love you connecting it to the twin sons moment of like, I'm dreaming of adventure. Here's real adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Isolated from your droid, confused in darkness. The only thing you know for sure is that a blaster ain't gonna help you. One of my favorite shots is that brief look at the blaster, like this is pointless now.
Yeah.
In trying to prepare himself for what he's going to face. No, I really think you're on the money, and I think that there's some stuff that you can that a viewer can kind of intuit and feel in their gut, and then get to a point of, if you want to, kind of verbalizing it. I've said before, the actual just aesthetic of where the fight begins, the carbine freezing chamber itself, that is like stamped into my soul. I think I can track lots of preferences for shapes and colors and designs of what I just think is aesthetically cool to that. The dark blue with the bright lurid orange. There's the three sets of complementary colors that go well together, but if you put them right next to each other, they cause visual friction. And it's what the color schemes that are used a lot in pulp covers. When you use the term pulpy, part of it is the actual visual aesthetic, and it's used on the posters of adventure serials. You have purple and yellow, you have green and red, careful not to evoke Christmas, and you have blue and orange because they pop and they fight.
Yeah.
So you have that blue and that orange creating this sort of dark, lurid, bright, but also mysterious. And then they apparently ordered every smoke machine that they could possibly get from the entire United Kingdom. Yeah. And it looks like Vader setting him off by his presence. So that the lurid, smoky, it's cool, it's exciting. It invites you in, but it invites you into a nightmare, right? With Vader standing up there, nothing moving but the smoke. It is Luke stepping into the belly of the beast of like, I thought this would be adventure. Hooray. I do something cool. And then I high five with my buddies. And like, no, this is utterly terrifying. It starts there. And then everything else that happens in the environment is moving through the unknown, the unclear. It is falling into pits. It is wandering through unknown tunnels, ultimately leading to no choice but to admit that you have no idea where you are, what you're doing, and let go from a high place. The fact that physically it moves through this place of nightmarish to more and more kind of falling into depths, confusion, constricted, till you have literally nowhere left to go. It's such a great physical acting out of what is going on with Luke. And I love what you're saying. Like, I think that it's really evoking some fantasy stuff in the carbon freezing chamber of like deep, that's a cave from Brothers Grimm, the carbon freezing chamber. Yeah. But as he falls through those more sort of utilitarian tunnels, there is a lot of just like, what are all those cool buttons for? What do they do in this plant, in this space plant?
Yeah. Yeah, and look, and this is probably one of the best times to shout out anyone who had a hand in designing this from stages, the look of it. Even again, going to Luke's outfit, we can do a whole episode on the meaning of Luke's outfit. Kirshner directing it, Peter Shishetsky shooting the hell out of this movie, right? I remember reading an article a long time ago about this. Yes, you got Gil Taylor and how New Hope kind of established the tones and just how the world looks, but how you even shoot Vader comes from this movie and how he looks on film. And I think, and then even Paul Hirsch with the editing, all of it coming together. and to tell that story to talk about it and to just continue falling down to I think too, go back to as a kid, I don't like falling, right? Heights I'm okay with. I literally have those nightmares of falling. I'm one of those folks. Luke's hanging on a weather vane.
Yeah.
Like it was hard for me to watch.
Yeah, and even Luke's victories in this space turn into more confusion, right? Like as a kid, I really clung to the moments where Luke was having a bit of a victory. Like every time I watched this, I would go through kind of the Shakespearean tragedy of like, oh, Luke's almost got him. Oh, he did get that one shot in. Yes. Like maybe it could turn out different. But like even when he knocks him from the carbon freezing chamber, then it becomes oh, cool. I got one up on him. Oh, whoops. Now I don't know where the monster is.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's under the bed or in the closet. Great.
Mm-hmm. I love that little moment where he's just kind of confused and looking for him.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, as a kid, and actually not as a kid. Well, I still feel like a kid. I only recently, and yes, there's a ton of maps and books and cutaways and cross sections. I only recently really kind of grasped what the actual layout was, right? It was kind of like, I remember as a kid going, he falls out of that window, gets pushed out of it. And where does he go? And like now, now it's like, get it. He's right below the walkway. Yeah, duh, it's right there. But it's just, it was so just sprawling in its own wonderful way that I think it's different than almost any other fight because of it, because it adds to that.
Yeah, and like there's kind of three main areas, and they're all iconic for me. Let's talk about the realities of filmmaking. What do you think about when you watch this fight? In our previous episode, we talked a lot about, well, this is the first lightsaber fight. All of 1977 Star Wars, not even A New Hope yet, was made, on a dream and actual, stomach anxiety, stress pain from Lucas. And it's amazing that it got done at all. But now we're going into this. What do you think about when you watch like what went into the filmmaking of this fight?
So interesting, because I think this might ring true for Empire Strikes Back overall. Get me here, and we'll talk more in the second half. I think this fight stands up better than the other original trilogy duels. We talked about Kenobi Vader last week, and it's more of a fast moving fight than you might remember, but it is what it is. I'm a Return of the Jedi fight guy, clearly, but and I think it ties to just Empire Strikes Back, shot in the late 70s, released in 80, still looks more modern to me than Return of the Jedi. Please don't kick me off the podcast. You know what I mean? Like it just has.
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah. And this fight more than ever. And I think for the fight itself, it might be the aggression you're talking about, because it feels so much more real, so raw. Some of my favorite things, whether it's a sword fight or a lightsaber fight, I want it to have a little bit of, which is why I had a little bit of a problem connecting with the Phantom Menace or any of the prequel fights early on. Now I see them way differently, of course, but like, it's the old dance argument we're going to talk about again and again and again. And this one just like it is. And I'm not 10 years old pointing at the screen and saying, well, that aggression means this for Luke. Obviously, it just has a different feel. So when you watch it now, it does not seem out of place against anything made in these modern times to me.
Yeah, no, I think that is part of the magic of the care that was taken with Empire Strikes Back. Like I know, a ton of people, Return of the Jedi is their favorite Star Wars film or their favorite original trilogy film, and I really love it. But I think I love it because of the story. But like there are some things about the filmmaking that don't feel as I don't know. Empire Strikes Back. I'm biased now because I know the story where like Irvin Kershner is over there just running up the budget because like I'm gonna make everything perfect and I'm going to work with everybody who's working on this film to make everything just next level emotional. And I just always feel that in the actual filmmaking. I'm just as moved by the story of Return of the Jedi, but when I think kind of getting into the filmmaking of the editing and the camera angles and all that, I think I feel Empire Strikes Back more, and that's definitely there in this fight. So I definitely think about that. I think about the angles of the fight. I think about the lighting. I think about the way it's edited to kind of increase Luke's fear. But more than anything, when I watch it, I think about just like the amazing leap in technology and confidence and scale. It is not a baby step from the lightsaber fight in A New Hope. It is this massive leap over 800 tall buildings. You know, the fight is bigger in emotion. It is, you know, bigger in the actual length of the fight. And, it reminds me of the same way that that a lot of the creators, and particularly the special effects people on all the various Empire Strikes Back specials, talk about Hoth, right?
Mhm.
They achieved this groundbreaking space battle in A New Hope. And then they're all like, instead of just doing something like that again, let's show that we can do a battle just as cool, but without the benefit of the blackness of space. Like giving yourself that sort of almost unnecessary challenge because you want to leap forward. The lightsaber fight feels like that to me too. It isn't like we figured out how to do it, now we can do it. It's like, now let's really amp it up in every way.
It's just the way. I mean, Kirshner, I still think dare say he's undervalued as director of this film. I think I don't know. No, everything you're saying is resonating, and it just Return of the Jedi might be the lightsaber fight I like watching more, but this is definitely a lightsaber fight I like studying more.
Got it. Very interesting. Yeah, I think the other thing for me that I keep in mind in the filmmaking now, trying to watch it from the perspective of this is, one of the many lightsaber fights that we're discussing that we're comparing. Tons of Star Wars fans who experienced maybe experienced the prequel trilogies first, or now even the sequel trilogy, or played a video game first and then came to the original trilogy and kind of seen it a little bit more from that perspective of this is just one of the many fights. One of the things I think about in the filmmaking is just being fascinated that there is a very different philosophy throughout the original trilogy that's really felt here about the style of lightsaber fighting. That there are definitely moments where Vader or Luke wield the blade with one hand, but there is this whole philosophy that these are like, two-handed heavy long swords, in that there's a lot more weight to the blades and a lot more weight to the style, in that there is no intent to be flying and flipping with the speed that is happening in the prequels. And watching it, like obviously that was the filmmaking intent at the time, but just kind of throwing it on the pile of lightsaber fights. I know that's the real world reason, because that was the decision at the time, and then this was the second lightsaber fight. But looking at it among all the lightsaber fights, it really works for me that like that's Vader's style. And that is what Luke is sort of leaning. That's what Luke is being trained, maybe to counter Vader's style. But there's just that connection between them of like, there are moments where this lightsaber fight is fast and there are little glancing blows and feints, but a lot of it is just that ramming one another's defenses. And it really draws out that this is an aggressive fight. And I think it adds to what you're talking about of it really feels like at any moment somebody could lose a limb.
Yeah. No, by the way, as a kid, man, wasn't it the coolest thing? Vader held it one-handed. That meant something, right? Like that was like me and my friend Johnny on the playground. Like Vader's so strong, he held it one-handed. That was big. But I want to talk. We talk about the realities of filmmaking too. Just talk about that leap from New Hope to this. Like this is almost the Star Destroyer flying over the top of your head moment for lightsaber fights. Like. From now, like you called it a template, and again, that's just our entry point into it, and so it's a little bit different. I understand, but just going forward, even with filmmakers now, you're going to go to this one, and this is the whoa. Just I can't imagine being in a theater in '77 and then going to a theater in '80 and going, oh, I hope there's another lightsaber fight, and then seeing this and going, well, that was different. Whoa.
No, I mean, A New Hope does a great job introducing you to the concept of lightsabers and the coolest thing ever. And we've talked and joked about if A New Hope came out today, I think there'd be a lot of angry opinions about what Luke Skywalker gets his dad's lightsaber and then he plays with it twice and he doesn't even use it. But there is that, right? He's not the big lightsaber fight. And then in Empire, if you're sitting there watching the film, you get the moments, you get the Wampa, you get the taking down the AT-AT or the AT-AT. You get the cave. You get lots of lightsabers in Luke's hands, but then this is the moment where like the promise of Luke igniting it and playing with it in Kenobi's hut, this is where the promise pays off and just explodes.
Absolutely is.
So let's talk about moments of thrill. We'll talk about thrill, and we'll talk about moments of character and banter. But let's start with the thrill. What are some of like the thrilling moments for you?
Well, I was going to kind of roll them all together from my first one here, and I'm sure.
Feel free to do it. Roll them together if that's what feels right.
No, roll it again. No, only because I did divide them up, but then I thought about it as we're talking. I love, and I'm sure you and I have similar beats, of course, but when he says, "You'll find I'm full of surprises," and Vader just disarms him, knocks him downstairs, and leaps down at him. It's like, that's all of it. It's thrill, because that's a great line. Oh man, I want to use that in business meetings. You'll find him full of surprises. But then it's just also where he is as a character, right? I'm the hero. Ah, damn it! It's just it checks all the boxes.
Yeah, and it's funny, and a different version of this could have been full on comedy, right? Where like it's almost like Vader's letting him finish his sentence, but it absolutely could have been, "You'll find I'm full of whoop."
Yep. Because that's what Vader really has. He's one-handed. He's got the one hand on the saber. He does this spin, knocks it out. It's like, yeah. Sure, kid, sure.
Yeah, no, and there is a real nice dance where Vader's like, "Okay, let's see what you got," and he keeps thinking like, "Yeah, Luke hasn't have that much." Okay, he did. He pulled one more out. Okay, all right, okay. Yep. Yeah, I love that one. That's fine. Let's mix them up. I think for me, a moment of character banter. We've talked about it a lot, but so much is set by the beginning of that amazing Vader line, the amazing delivery of "The Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet." One of James Earl Jones' best delivery. It's a cool line. It's fun to quote, but it's also like it sets up the audience. It tricks the audience in a great way, right? Because the audience is already tempted to not listen to anything that the cute green Muppet has said, right?
Right.
And to have a New Hope mindset of like, finally, the good guy, Luke Skywalker, is going to take it to the bad guy. And this encourages you to root for Luke, where the bad guy is like, "Yeah, you got power, but it's not enough." And you want to be like, "It is. Take it to him, Luke. Take it to him." So it's a cool line, but it's also like this great manipulation of the audience's expectations of what this fight is about.
It's also maybe a top 5 shot in Star Wars.
Oh, for sure. Just that ominous shadow. Once Luke gets up there and it's just the shadow of the two of them, and it's held. Like, that's the kind of brilliance that Kirshner brought, I think, that it holds the shot long enough to invite you to think about, this is a meaningful battle. This is the showdown between these two figures, one good, one evil. Here we go. This is iconic.
Absolutely. No, that is perhaps the moment. And you're right, at James Earl Jones and at a lifetime of wonderful line deliveries, that might be the best for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. He didn't have to go so hard, but he did. What are some other moments of thrill, character, or combined?
It's the 1-2 punch of Luke's leap out of the chamber, and Vader's most impressive. I mean, is that one of the most quoted lines in Star Wars? Yes, and it should be. It has so many uses, but also it is a thrill. It is a little, especially all the things you're talking about. It's you pick up right away. This isn't going as planned for old Luke, and he leaps. He gets out of it. He's not trapped all too easy. Nope. He's not going to do it. And even like I said, Vader's like, all right. I see what you got. So I've just always loved that moment.
Yeah, no, that one is absolutely great. And yeah, Anakin even says it in the Clone Wars, right? To really connect it. I have had friends say it to me while playing video games. The most impressive, vice versa. It's a classic for a reason. This is, for me, just a big thrill. Just like one of the things that made me think this fight was the coolest, even as I was getting older and rewatching the movie again and again on VHS and then DVD and then Blu-ray and then streaming. It's always just going to be one of the thrill moments, the cool moments, is when Luke escapes the carbon freezing chamber. Vader slashes at him. He does the cool move of blowing the steam into Vader's face and calling the saber back to his hand. Like, that was the playground moment for me. That was like, it would be so cool to have the Force. Right? And every time I watch it, it'd be like, I know how this fight ends, but look, Luke's got some stuff going for him. That was a clever move. I love Vader's little yell of surprise. He really got him with that smoke, Yeah. And then on top of that, buying the time to get the blade back in his hand just in time to meet Vader's blade. So just cool.
It's why you run to the playground to claim the playground equipment that you can best reenact this on. All right. We got to.
I need a tube and a stick. Yeah. So I can act out this beat. So that's one of my just favorite thrilling moments, thrilling beats in the fight. How about you? What are some other moments?
I call this maybe a character moment, and it's something that's only grown in time. And I'm gonna say it again. Like after watching Kenobi and seeing a little bit more of Anakin's face as played by Hayden in that moment, and let's not overlook the Rebels moment with Ahsoka too. Don't want to do that. There's this beat on Vader's face, which is the mask. And it's right before he starts moving all the objects and throwing them at Luke. And they're clashing. They're down below. Luke's taking his shots. And there's just this shot. Just linger on it. It's a second. But Vader's kind of holding his saber there. And that's when things start flying. And I'm mesmerized by what's going on in that mind right there. And then of just like I keep telling you don't understand the full power of this. I keep telling you don't know what fight you're in. You keep thinking you're going to win. You keep thinking you're a hero. You don't even know half of what I can do. You don't even know what's out there in the galaxy yet. You farm boy. It's just, but also, I don't know. I just love, if you just watch it, you just see it. It is just this shot on hell's coming and I'm coming with it.
I'm really glad that you brought that up. I love the moment where he lowers his blade. Like that moment, that's the same Vader who is like, I am going to beat Reva without even igniting my own blade. I'll just use hers against hers, and I'll even give her half of it back to try again.
Yeah.
Like that's the Vader where it's like, okay, I have taken the measure and now I know what I'm up against. And now I need to show this kid what's what. Yeah. And I like that Vader keeps being cocky of like, oh, you're full of surprises. Now I just knocked you down. Now I knock you into the carbon freezing. And so he's, hey, you legitimately knocked me into this over the pit here. And like, okay, you have some skills, but I just want you to settle down because this fight for me isn't about, I'm not going to cut your head off. I need you to settle down so I can speak with you, son.
Yeah.
But in a horribly cruel way. That's to me what it is showing the power. It is showing the mastery, but it's also just like tenderizing him. So he'll sit down and shut up and stop fighting. So he'll listen to what Vader really wants to do, which is tell him the truth. Right.
Yep.
And I absolutely, love the lowering the blade and you don't even get it. And all of the boxes flying at him. And, people make jokes about it with the GIF now of like Jedi reflexes where he misses the box. And I think it's making a generalized joke, but like, yeah, that's the whole point that he does not have the power. That's the whole point.
It's the final big one on my list. That one big swing and a miss. It's like kind of, there's a lot of them, but there's like the final big one, which is, it's like my little league career in one swing of that lightsaber. That's how it went for me. But it is exactly that, right? It's based on everything we've said, based on everything Luke has told us and himself. It is such like this weapon it's nothing. This is where you are. I loved it as a kid. There's a little bit of humor with it. Could be a great gift if you want to use it. Totally. And we're here for that, but we're here for the point. And it's such a low point, right? It's a painful, because it's not even a saber. It's like a box. Some Ugnaughts lunchbox got tossed at you. And this is where you are.
Yeah, and he has to know, like, Vader's just standing there watching, while I miss boxes, which kind of leads to one of my other favorite moments, that cut where Luke is in the tunnel. Often when I walk down hallways, I do the great Mark Hamill look. He does the same inquisitive but also scared kind of look that he does as he walks down halls in the Death Star. It's here too, but it's more scared. It is to me the patented Luke Skywalker, cocked head slightly advanced. This is how you proceed down a hallway. But in particular when Luke walks into that tunnel and Vader just swoops in like a shadow from hell, right?
Yes.
And Vader's advancing angry, and they're like, okay, we've played, now I just need you to settle down.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad you brought that. I was going to ask you about this. This goes into what you think, interpret, headcanon, whatever you want to say. In that particular moment, do you have any part of your brain that thinks Vader's like, F this, I'm chopping him in two?
No, I think it really is like there is a surprising amount of fight in him, and I need him to stop because this is not what the fight is for me. And I think it's so different. Like compare like just Vader's body language from the beginning, right, where he's like testing him. When he swoops down on him in that hallway, he drives the fight. He backs Luke up to where there's nowhere else to go. Then Luke still won't give up. Gives him the tap on the shoulder that I know we both like, and that's where they're like, all right then. I'm taking this away from you so we can talk because that's what I'm here for, yeah. That's my total headcanon,
no, I love it. No, it's great. No, I love it. I just, that's why I love so many things about this fight is just we keep going back to the word aggression, but it's palpable. You feel it.
Yeah. And do you want to talk anything about the famous moment, the famous interchange, no, I am your father, no, that's impossible, Luke's resolution? What are your thoughts on that?
Here's my thought on it. It's just so part of part of our pop culture world, right? It's perhaps one of the biggest things. It's not just a Simpsons joke; it's all of our jokes. I don't want to say overlook it. I don't spend a lot of time with it anymore because it's all just building to the more interesting things are there. Once we get the truth, it's a wonderful moment for Hamill as an actor. The history behind the moment is so well discovered. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, I know, I get it. That's where we're going. It changes everything for them. Again, I think it's tremendously important to acknowledge that Vader's acknowledging anything public. It's like I finally said it, like you said up top. Like, yay! Even with Palpatine, I have to be kind of like, what? Skywalker? What? And so I think it's a big moment. Big moment. I feel maybe after all these years, I don't have any new insight to add to it.
Got it. No, I think for me, the only things I'll add is that it has become richer since the prequels in the rule of two, and that's I think deep down he wants connection with his son. That's why he's obsessed, but he can't really admit that to himself because that desire for connection is weakness. So he's folding that into what we now know is the rule of two of like, I'll get this new better apprentice and together we'll overthrow this guy. So I find that a more interesting beat. And I think that's what Palpatine and Vader are kind of dancing around in their conversation earlier in Empire Strikes Back. And then I've come to appreciate more as I've gotten older, Luke's choice, right? Because Vader is telling him it's die, don't make me destroy you, or go to the dark side. It is the only way. And that Luke, now that he finally understands that he didn't understand. Right? He's not like he immediately hears everything. He's like, I got it. Now all of Yoda's lessons come flying back and I understand everything perfectly. It's just that like splash of water in the face of like, oh, I realize this is a different situation than I thought entirely. And instead of trying to resolve it, I'm going to let go, literally. Like, I don't think he's quite to that sort of like Zen Jedi meaning of let go. But the fact that is his choice of like, I'm going to take my chances with option 3. I'm not going to let you tell me what are my only 2 options. I'm going to take whatever is offered by, attempting to get away.
Right.
And find my own path.
Love it.
So out of 10 lightsabers fully ignited, how many lightsabers do you now personally give this fight?
Look, man, I'm going to give this the old 9 out of 10. The 1 point deduction comes from, Luke just didn't dress for the right fight for me. And by the way, I love his outfit more than ever. And that's part of the reason behind it. And then half a point of that deduction is, it scared me as a kid, and I'm still scared of Large Marge and Vader in this fight. So there you go.
Understandable. You should be frightened of Vader in this fight. I'm giving it 10 out of 10, and many of those lightsabers are double-sided too. I do think it is like an incredibly well-done fight from the choreography, from the filmmaking perspective, hugely emotionally important. And then, we're discussing our subjective opinions, and this is absolutely just a huge template of what lightsaber fights can be, and I love it with all my Star Wars love and heart. So it's a 10 out of 10 for me. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to discuss the lightsaber duel of Return of the Jedi. And we are back as we discuss the magic of lightsaber fights. We just discussed the matchup between Vader and Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back, which means we are now to the rematch in Return of the Jedi. Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader versus the Emperor sitting there throwing shade, which is, I think, a part of what the fight is. Ken, what are your current feelings on this fight, and have they changed over the years? I know you began with great love in your heart. It sounds like probably for you, this was the template. This was what a lightsaber fight should be.
Yeah, it definitely needs a stunt performer doing a leap up onto something, with a springboard. So what has changed? I'll start up there first. Is what is actually happening in the fight. And my understanding of that has definitely changed, and as it should, from 7 to now. But there's been a lot of changes along the way as you engage with it more, and as you engage with the Star Wars story more. I think all roads lead to this, which is why I still love the fight so much. So yeah, with a deeper understanding of what Luke is doing and what he's doing wrong specifically, and what he does right in the end, it all just matters more to me. And again, that was always there. Richard Marquand was always there. It was never not there, but it's just easy to grow up saying, see, Luke went to face the bad guys and we won. And look, Ewoks were dancing. It didn't happen in the last film. No Ugnaughts danced, no Wookiees danced, Ewoks danced here. And I think, therefore, this could be, it's not, I don't know. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not misinterpreted. And maybe some of this is just my own experience. But it has this is what he meant to do, right? He told Yoda he was going to go save his friends, and he tells Leia he's going to go save his friends. And you could just stop there and not see it. So that's why even some of my favorite moments, we've already discussed some in the series, but I'll discuss some here today. They are still some of my favorite moments. It's just you look at it now and go, oh, that is one step over the line, sweet Luke. Of bad. That is a potential mistake. That is potentially fatal. And that has made the fight more interesting. But the visuals of it, the black, again, talking about everyone dressed for a goth party, the green blade, which is a different feel than the blue one for me, the red, the music, Williams going, hey, this might be the last one we ever do. Let's bring in a choir. Like all that stuff for me, yes, was a bit of a template, bit of quintessential Star Wars.
So like the actual just like thrill of the lightsaber fight for you, part of it is the aesthetic, the music. It just feels huge and operatic to you.
100%. One of my favorite things to say here, 100%, but 110% for this one. This is my Jedi aesthetic. A little dark, a little moody, put a glove on, you got an injury, you're trying to go, and then you leap out to save the day. And again, as you analyze a little bit more, some of those moments change for you, and did change for me. But yeah, it is. I will still say him leaping out, screaming, the music playing as the camera kind of pans along, might be my favorite Star Wars shot. And again, it leads right to Vader being tossed, knocked down, the hand chopped off, and Luke throwing down the lightsaber. So all of that is a big, probably the sequences in Star Wars. It's the heart of a lot of things. But just that moment with the is like, oh God, that's what I want in every Star Wars film.
Yeah, no, I get it. I really get like the emotional thrill, and I have come to really, really love this fight, particularly the emotion of it. But to kind of go back, time travel into my kid perspective, that I think it took me a little while to shake is I had that time to speculate, especially from a kid perspective, where I didn't, I don't think I got to see Empire Strikes Back in between. We didn't have it VCR, so I relived it through my action figures and through the trading cards and the storybooks, like I said. But it was still burned into my soul. So I spent around 3 years going, how is Luke ever going to defeat Vader? Vader can throw boxes.
Yeah.
How is he can do that? And I remember this is probably my very first speculate responsibly, but I didn't realize it when I saw the movie. I was like, I was waiting for 3 years to figure out how Luke was going to handle it when Vader threw stuff at him, and he didn't even try.
That's
So
great.
I think what it came down to is I imagined it bigger. I imagined the actual fight. Like, how could a
Mhm.
lightsaber fight be even bigger than Empire Strikes Back? And of course, as I get older, what's amazing and wonderful about the fight, which we'll discuss, is it's a fight the hero's trying not to have, which by
Mhm.
definition makes it really, really different. It's a fight where any moment of fight is fun and thrilling on the action adventure side, but any second where the lightsaber is ignited is a tragedy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it gives it this entirely different tension and stakes. There are still cool action moments that we'll talk about and all that. So um as I've gotten older, what I really, really enjoy about this fight is obviously for the emotional battle, it is the fight for the conclusion where Luke throws down the blade. It is one of the biggest, most important moments in Star Wars. It's an emotional battle. It's a 10 out of 10.
Mhm.
So then I start thinking about like, okay, well, where does it really rate for me in terms of like the actual the battle and the banter and all that stuff? The stuff that I've really come to enjoy is the contrast with Luke, right? Like
Mhm.
Luke is giving in. He knows he shouldn't be doing this. But the great contrast between Luke in Empire and Luke in Return of the Jedi, it's so fun to watch Luke's skill and confidence. And like the
Yeah.
story of this battle from Luke's perspective is that power isn't at issue. He can match Vader now
Mhm.
or surpass him. The use of the power is the question, right?
Mhm.
And it's got so many great lines in this fight that have only become richer over time. Even down to the viewing I did this morning. I always was fascinated by Vader's seeming to just be totally unaware of Yoda. That's always what I concentrated on when Vader
Mhm.
would not shut up about Obi-Wan.
Mhm.
But like hearing the line that I've heard a million times again this morning of Obi-Wan has taught you well, that's more impactful after having seen Obi-Wan take it to Vader
Mhm. Mhm.
and going like, ooh, okay, all right, okay,
Yeah.
you really got it, kid. You are matching me.
Yeah.
We'll talk about all these lines. Sister is always been great, but is even more rich after the prequel. So,
Mm.
my point being on my kind of current feelings on the fight is it's elevated quite a bit from when I was a kid to really appreciating what the fight is truly about and appreciating how rich it becomes with all the additional storytelling.
Yeah, and to back up the expectation thing, and it's why we have fun with him here at Force Center, and sometimes we'll do a little cheeky warning, and we sell T-shirts about it. But it's a lesson. But I can only imagine, it's look at Maul, Kenobi, twin sons, rebels, right? There was a lot of people like that's it, and it's like
Yeah,
that's the point. This we know, and we have wonderful discussions about that. But yes, this I've lived with this fight for so long, but again, watching it this morning with a strong cup of coffee, it is all about Luke going, nope, 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 not gonna fight you. I will not fight you. Like, and so I can only imagine going, here we go. Wait, he doesn't even want to fight him. What are you talking about?
yeah, no, and as I got older, eventually that was one of the things that made me like really love Star Wars and really want to engage and discuss Star
Mhm.
Wars is realizing the power of that and realizing how much I was a very young person, so I'm not beating up on myself, but I spent years debating with my brother, can Luke ever beat Darth Vader? And my brother's like, no.
Mm.
I don't know how nihilistic my young brother at the time, he's older than me, but he was young then. I don't know how he thought this was going to end if Luke could
Yeah.
never beat Vader. Like, no, that's going to be the ending. The Empire's going to win. But that was the debate. That was the only debate was, will Luke be able to kill him or not? And it never entered my mind that there was another option, which is why Lucas told this story,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's at stake for the characters. Why are they fighting? What is victory for them in this lightsaber duel? Where do you go with that?
You look at Luke first, and I think one of the things at stake is like we keep touching upon is becoming a weapon for the dark side. I think that's hanging over his head. At least he's being told that a lot. I think why is he there again? The question of why is he fighting is like you said, doesn't want to fight. He's there for his father, for because there's good in him. I've felt it, like that's what he's telling Leia I got to go do. So that's there, and then what is victory for him? I often not struggle, but wonder if just like, did he just assume he was going to his death? Did he just assume I ain't coming back? And and again, not saying that I hope I get hurt enough and my father changes his side. Like I don't know if
Mm-mm.
that details of his plan, but it's like, he's entering in there to say, I've got to stay strong. I cannot give into the dark side. I cannot become a weapon for this, and hope that in doing, I got to look for hope. Look for the Force to do something, and look for my father to something. Again, the details, I don't think he has a Post-it note of step one. I just think that's what at stake. Do not become a weapon for the Jedi. Hide your feelings. Bury your feelings, Luke. All that is what's in his mind for me as a starting point to the conversation.
Yeah, no, I love all that. I think that his big picture, his fight is to not fight. His victory conditions are don't fight, because in this particular scenario, it won't help anything, right? We talk about this a lot. It comes up a lot in lightsaber fights in particular, but sort of the Jedi philosophy of when you sadly must use violence in defense of someone else, versus like going out there with the mission to kill somebody, right?
Yeah.
And I think Luke handed himself over to Vader because he believes that there's some good in him. He tries that on the hallway and doesn't think that his father is even going to hand him over to Palpatine. And his dad's like, nope, sorry. So I think by the time he walks into that throne room, I think he has two things going on. I think he has a willingness to die rather than fight. And I think he has exactly what Palpatine accuses him of. Well, not exactly. He has confidence in his friends.
Yes.
Palpatine thinks it's overconfidence. But I really think that there's some like Zen Jedi wisdom in him recognizing, oh, a lot of people have said that, I'm so important because I have these Jedi powers. I have to face Vader. But I think there's a real, like, almost piece to him of like, this isn't all about me. Yes, I have powers and they can help people, and I use them to rescue Han, and that was important. But my friends have a plan.
Yeah.
And they're united and together, and I believe in them, and they're going to resolve this. And I don't need to, I don't need to. He even tells it, directly to Palpatine, like, soon you'll be dead. Right. And it's only when that is maybe not what's going to happen. When it seems his faith in his friends was misplaced, not in their ability, but in Palpatine pulling them into a trap. That's when his motivation, briefly turns to rage, to a fear of losing his friends, and in particular Leia. And this, what is now, very well documented, very well understood, briefly starts down the path that took his father.
Hey, yeah, and I want to acknowledge too what you're saying of just this idea of the little bit of I don't know if it's a Kenobi New Hope energy of, you're right, I'm going up there. If I can keep you distracted enough, we all go, and that's the victory. Yeah, that's a big part of it too. I want to acknowledge that what he's carrying is, in his heart as he heads up there.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think he just has a reading of the situation of, I am not needed for this.
Yes.
That my friends have it, and to know like when, and that's the Jedi thing, right? To know when you are truly needed, and to know when to let other people have their agency. You are not everything because of your powers, right? Sometimes your powers aren't the most important thing. And I kind of feel like that is where he's at. He's not trying to come up with a plan of like, only I can stop them. I need to leave this room with these two dead. Like my friends have a plan for it.
It's a very important point about this whole thing, because go to that Leia conversation. We're gonna highlight, in our heads over time, it's Leia's vision of her mother, which, now it's this canon gap that we have to, have fun with and all that kind of stuff. There's the Han of it all. You and I, and you've been celebrating that moment of, I'm grumpy Han. What's my lady friend doing? Like, there's just a lot of great other things there, and the revelation of the sister. But yeah, that whole conversation, you're right. It is Luke going, don't worry. No, you're the power here, Leia. Yeah, you have your own power. He doesn't say, hey, maybe I can train you later on and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, it's not a little bit of don't worry about me, but a little bit of like, no, you guys, you're the fight. Leia, you're the fight. Han's the fight. Lando's the fight. That's what's there, and I like that. Again, it's a little bit of that Kenobi energy. It's somewhat of the same generation passing on the lessons in a way no, you step on ahead. That's more important. I've got to go do this because only I can. Not in the sense of I'm going to go save the day. You're going to save the day. I'm the only one that can go distract them, I guess, why it's going on.
Yeah. You've always been strong, right?
Mhm,
It connects to Qui-Gon in Obi-Wan, going with Padme to Naboo and like, we'll give you advice, we'll back you, and we will defend you. But we are letting you chart your path, and not inserting ourselves in it unnecessarily. And I feel like that's a part of like Luke's great growth and power and why he's so awesome in Return of the Jedi, because he is this centered Jedi, and that's what's being challenged. He walks on that station, centered, right? And Palpatine and Vader combine to break through to his and try to curdle his compassion into fear and anger, and they are briefly successful.
Yeah, and remember, this is the same Luke that not too long from now will show up and take Grogu and say, "Good luck with all you got going on."
Looks like you have a captured Imperial remnant and maybe some Mandalorian personal issues. Enjoy your day.
Good day, sir. Yeah.
Good day. Yeah. And it's interesting to think if somebody's like, hey, can we have some help with this? That he might be like, all right. Let's talk about Vader's motivations, because I think this is one of the most fascinating Vader headspaces, right? We will absolutely talk about Vader's choice, Anakin's choice to throw Palpatine down the shaft. But when he's bringing Luke to Palpatine, what does Vader want? What does he think is going to happen? What is he okay with happening?
And I think, trying to analyze it from the Vader point of view, and we've got a lot of wonderful questions over the years of, hey, just watching this again, and what's his purpose here now? I think it is one of the underrated aspects of this fight in terms of how it grows on you and how you look at it differently. And you're only going to look at it even more different now that we've got season 1 of Kenobi. Oh, is there season 2? We'll find out. Here's where I start, Joseph. I look at this fight as Vader's last stand and Anakin's final fight as going on in there. And as far as what's in his head, you and I did this ForceCenter scene by scene of the what we call kind of the hallway or balcony scene, whatever you want to say, with Luke turning himself into Vader, and how just sad all of that is from Vader. It is the ghost of Anakin saying, "It's too late for me." It goes from anger to all this stuff, and it's anyone wants to listen to the episode, it's out there. So I carry that into this fight, where I just wonder how much of Vader is just like is feeling there is no end game for me. I cannot defeat the Emperor. Maybe he can, maybe I can, or maybe this is just, I always look at it as you don't understand the power of the dark side. The many different times Vader says that, one of the final ones to Luke is just this like, you don't understand, I'm trapped and this is what I do. And so he's going up there not because it's his job, but just like there's no other option. So therefore I wonder if just how much did he have in his mind of what he was going to do in that fight?
Yeah, no, I love the way you're describing that, because even in Empire, you don't know the power of the dark side. Still feels like it's the only way to get what you want, Yeah. It still feels strong. But in Return of the Jedi, you don't know the power of the dark side. Feels like you don't know how strong the bars on my prison are. It really does feel like, and I know the comic books, I haven't read all of them, but the comic books that set between Empire and Jedi, I think are doing some good work to show what I always kind of felt and assumed of Palpatine really breaking Vader down, right? And driving out anything that isn't just allegiance to the dark side. So it does feel like this resignation, but it's fun to think through. Like even in Empire, he's like, okay, I got him isolated and alone. Maybe his eyes will go yellow, and you're like, you're right. Let's, I will join you, and I think Vader is doing what he is following the path of the dark side. He's following what he knows, right? And I think he is trying to serve the dark side, serve Palpatine. I think he wants to break Luke's spirit. I think he wants to turn Luke to the dark side. He knows fighting and fear are the path to the dark side, and he is committed. He is going to do that to Luke. That's clear from his actions, right? But then, since the dark side is so selfish, it's such a great question. Be like, and how does that end for Vader? What does Vader think is going to happen? Because this isn't back on Bespin where they can then, team up, force a bunch of stormtroopers to come to their side and go get Palpatine. If Luke bends in that moment, maybe there's just a glimmer of hope that he and Luke turn their blades on Palpatine. Maybe there's a glimmer of hope, but he seems more beaten down than that. So I kind of feel like there's this headcanon for me where Vader's like, I know how this goes. I know how hard the dark side is to resist. Luke's going to break or we're going to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does break, I think Vader's ready to die.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vader has maybe a glimmer of hope that, okay, we'll turn on Palpatine, or maybe Palpatine will be ready to let the rule of two go. And Luke will just be like the grandest Inquisitor ever. Great.
Yeah.
But I think Vader in his heart of hearts knows if Luke breaks, I'm dead. And I'm sick of all of this, and I'm ready to accept it. I'm ready to die. I mean, that's getting into total headcanon material. I'm not pointing to one specific line where like I'm going to underline it like I'm doing a YouTube video proving it. I'm not circling anything. This is an emotional reading, a gut level reading. Is that what's going to happen if Luke breaks? Well, Palpatine's going to hold up. Palpatine's going to like get out a little gavel and go, "It's now rule of three." There's no shocked there's no Count Dooku look of shock when broken Luke comes for Vader's head and Palpatine's like, good, do it. There's not going to be any surprise there from Vader.
Yeah, that almost can't be, right? He'd be a fool to be. Yeah, no, this is great because I even think we got I thought we answered this in a question video once. It's a great question that bears repeating here. Is this I wonder if Vader knew excuse me, when he ignites that blade, is it to defend the Emperor or stop Luke from giving in to hate? It's a wonderful question I have. I still I follow what it may. I don't know if that follows completely what you're saying, but I just have this idea that it was a little bit of gut reaction from Vader. That's a little bit of why Palpatine cackles. I don't know. Or just Palpatine's cackling because, you almost did it. You almost did it. You almost gave in to hate, but now there's a fight. And Luke's slipping and Palpatine knows it. And some days I might have a different answer than other days, I think some days I want it to be Vader going, no, son, don't give in to hate. But I think you're right. There's a lot of resignation in him. And I think his emotions shift during the fight. A lot of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, I didn't say I had any one line to point to, but I do think there is a lot in the line of it is too late for me, my son.
Yeah.
I think he's resigned to this is his destiny, break Luke, and 9 chances out of 10, if he succeeds in breaking Luke, that's it for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much more clear and easy to analyze, I think, is the victory conditions for Emperor Sheev Palpatine, Darth Sidious. Which here's what I think his entire victory conditions are: I either get a new model or I keep my reliable old clunker. Either way, I get where I'm going.
I'm shopping for a car. I'm going to haggle on the price. Either way, I win. Yeah.
I like my 2008 Yaris. It's getting a little older, and I would love a newer model, but it'll still get me where I need to go.
Yeah, and what's the one thing he just I guess you could say doesn't account for is hope and empathy win in the day. He just that's not how it works. I'm Palpatine, and I think that shows up again even in Rise of Skywalker. He doesn't need to account for that because darkness wins. Look at me.
Yep. People think this connection will save them, and the connection will break them. It is weakness. Yeah. So moving on, how does the environment help tell the story or help accelerate the thrill factor? You have described the ambiance meaning a lot to you. What is it that's so effective?
I think it is a little bit of the end game, the final boss battle, and you're doing it in his living room. Like, come on. And we keep talking about the fights in the original trilogy so far having, a trap feeling. Kenobi in the Death Star hallways. He can't get out. He's there. This is where it's going. Luke buried in the bowels of Bespin and going farther down as he slips away there. And this to me doesn't quite feel like Luke is just trapped. It just truly feels like he had no thoughts of getting out of there. I'm not trapped. This is where I knew it was going to be. The end. And we solve it right here. And I think it's wonderfully claustrophobic in a way, even though the fight moves around the throne room. But like, again, you're going to his house.
Yeah, no, I love the way you're saying it. It's happening in his living room. I think that there is some of that sort of great pulpy energy. Please always fight in high places. That always makes a fight more thrilling. You got some different areas. You got the bridges, the stairs, the narrow walkways, hidden alcoves, all that kind of stuff going on there that gives it a sense of space and in a sense of being sort of trapped. But it's Luke in the heart of the Imperial beast, right? It's Luke has either with the rebels been sort of like striking at Imperial bases, or jumping into them to save somebody and racing out, and here he is just sticking his head in the mouth of the lion. And I think that's a little bit of the vibe that's powerful, right? It's surrounded everywhere is the sort of insignia of the Empire in that darkness.
Yeah, which is for Vader, not Anakin, but for Vader, he is standing in all that he became, right? It is pointless to resist my son. Look around, you're not getting out of this. This is what made me. I did this to myself. Victory. I bragged to Obi-Wan, but really, I am trapped in all this. You can't get out.
Yeah. I love your living room analogy. The other thing that I like is the whole battleground is kind of a stage, and the Emperor is the audience. You can have stages where the stage is elevated, but you get a little bit more of that sort of a Coliseum arena vibe when the majority of the fight is happening with the Emperor is this elevated. He's got the best spot in the raked seating of the combat theater, and it's all playing out for him at his whim.
Yeah. This is the fight in the Oval Office, right? This is what Lucas wanted. We're going to go to Nixon's Oval Office right here. Because I love one of the moments is that elevator door opens and Hamill's kind of playing it is like, all right, where are we at? Oh, there he is. Like, he's a great read on when he sees the Emperor for the first time.
Oh, yeah. And then the handcuffs the binders coming off. Great stuff. So what realities of filmmaking do you think about when you watch this fight?
So this is, I don't know if it's even a change or anything. This fight still holds, this wonderful top spot in my heart. But watching it now and really trying to look at it, I think this definitely holds me and thrills me and kisses me, whatever, hold me, thrill me. Some of it, including that big flip, reads like 80s Hollywood stunt action. It reads a little smaller to me now. Shot now, the action might be slightly more, I don't know, free, less constrained. I don't mean in choreography. Just it does feel, I got small. Not it's epic. It's the end game, but it just believe it or not, Joseph. I think the Empire action reads better now than this one.
Okay, I get it, and that's just sort of like the whole combination of filmmaking, right? Like the angles, the editing, the directing of photography, all of it,
and even a little bit of the staging. The use of the space is great, but I have more of those and I don't get hung up on those questions, but I have more of those. How, was Luke just hiding under the stairs? Because there's not a lot there. And so the actual staging of the fight sometimes doesn't hold up for me as much as it used to. Yeah, no,
absolutely. I think there is a little bit of comedy of Luke's voice coming out from what doesn't feel like a huge space, right? How many, let's be generous. There are 14 poles.
Yeah.
and Vader's going to find him eventually, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think does hold up. Yeah, that I don't get hung up on it, but it's just you see that more and more. So that's why it's some of the realities of it there. This is no shot at Mark one. It's shot different and with a little I don't know, less finesse.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching it again this morning. There are things that I just really, really loved. I think that has some of that stuff has always been my challenge, or kind of comparing it back and forth to Empire Strikes Back fight. But also just watching it again just reminded me, as the years fall by with storytelling, in particular Star Wars storytelling, it's the emotions, the moments we love that linger on, right? And it's totally understandable and great that a new thing comes out and we all debate it and discuss it, but it's powerful to go watch this and go if this was the way the fight was constructed in a new show, people would be really critiquing. It's totally unbelievable that Luke could hide there,
Yep.
And that's the thing, is it's a legitimate thing to discuss. The criticisms are always valid, but there's a power in the fact that as the years fall away, that's not what people want to talk about. They talk about growing up with this or discovering this or what it means to them or how it connects to other stories. And the stuff that sings is always going to end up having more power than the little problems.
Yeah, really does.
Yeah. So a couple things I think about is really enjoying the choreography. Again, in original trilogy, it's all a little bit more of that heavier, two-handed kind of sword fighting style. But the contrast even between Empire, right, where there's it's mostly heavy bashing in Empire, but there are some more sort of fencing like moves here and there, or little, quick thrusts and parries. I love how the vast majority of this fight is just like these lightsabers weigh 85 pounds. And it's these big, brutal bashing of blades. I talk about different lightsaber fights I like because there's a lot of finesse, and it's like their chess. It's like everybody knows the moves, but is there a way that you can surprise your opponent with making a move they're not expecting? And like that's a half of the psychological battle. And I love that is only in this fight a little bit. This fight is not finesse. It's not chess. It's like bare knuckle boxing. It's power, you know? And I just kind of love that from the choreography standpoint. And I think it tells the story that like, this isn't about power. This isn't about the question of does Luke have enough power? Does he have his fear under control? Those questions are out the window. It's what he's going to do with the power. Yeah. And the choreography brings that forward to me. I also think it's kind of fascinating to think of this film from the editing challenge. It's around the same amount of broken up into around the same amount of scenes as Empire Strikes Back, but it's a little bit different because we have the start of the fight and then a cut right away. Then we have a longer scene. We have a longer scene. Then the lightsaber portion of the fight is done, and then we have the lightning scene, which is arguably a part of the lightsaber fight. But it's kind of fascinating to think about from the editing challenge, right? This is the complexity of the intercutting. This is cutting between two other battles. While also still trying to be kind of elevated to be like, this is the big fight. The big one. But then you also have this sort of narrative challenge that it is the big fight, but it's the fight for Luke and Vader's souls. It's a battle where one of the people doesn't want to be fighting. So this sort of writing challenge, choreography challenge, edit challenge, like, let's make this fight where one of the guys is mostly just trying to run away really thrilling.
Yeah, and I think it does succeed. Overall, it's when you highlight that, it's just you sometimes when you're watching it, you go from say Lando and Nine Numb and Han running, move, and then suddenly it's like quiet stillness. Luke's hiding. That's hard to pull off. And I think it's great. Yeah, you're right to point it out. It's a fun challenge they had to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it kind of leads directly into some fun conversations we'll have about the Phantom Menace with Lucas kind of escalating and cutting between even more scenes. Well, a little preview for next time. So let's talk about the individual moments. Feel free to combine thrill and character moment, banter moments, but be sure to share with me some of just the thrill aspects because I'm interested in that too.
Yeah, starting here, look, it has... This moment has it has bigger, more dangerous ramifications now, or at least it always did. But when you engage with it a little different. But begin that fight, you're looking out at the fleet. And you got McDermott's just chewing up scenery, but Luke kind of whipping back around and force calling his weapon to him. You mentioned the part in Empire of him force calling a weapon. That was a little bit of my Jedi aesthetic growing up. But that is what a Jedi does. You're there. And you got, your friends are going to be blown out of space if you don't take action. It is a little bit of the Jedi art of defense, but really it is about him giving into fear and anger and hate, which leads me to that question of like, how much was Vader? Did they have that in mind when he ignites his blade, whatever, but so it's all still there. It's very thrilling. It's dangerous emotionally. It's a little bit right. It's a lot of bit wrong. Like all of it kind of is just there. And it's like, again, the Emperor is cackling because it's like, you've fallen. But just as a kid, suddenly whipping around, grabbing your lightsaber, the fight begins. Like, that's why I wanted to join Team Jedi.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The acting there, the stiff sudden turn is great. And for my money, I think it's great to discuss Vader motivations. For me, I feel like Vader's like, yeah, no, I knew this was coming. Sheev here's really good at breaking people. I want to get him angry. I want to get him fighting. I don't think the turn happens in Vader until a little bit later. And I love Palpatine cackling because his point of view is that the Jedi are liars, right? Yeah. That everybody gives into anger and they're lying about it. And like that laugh is like, I mean, it's almost like him tweeting LOL.
Yeah.
In a totally jerky way. Cause like, yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. You don't give into violence. LOL.
Yeah, it's him kind of saying everybody's got a price. I told you that. I've been saying that for decades. Y'all got a price.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great moment to start. One of my favorite moments is just editorial. I've always loved that we cut from the beginning of the fight to Hans. We get some more scenes with Endor, and then we got Hans great. I've got an idea that just smash cuts to the fast clashing blades. That's a really cool cut that gets you just into the heart of the fight, right? Like Empire starts out kind of slow. Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope with this sort of like testing what's going on. And we just cut to them mid-fight going for it, you know?
Yep, absolutely. No, absolutely.
Yeah, one of my very favorite moments. Another one I'll throw out there that I've always really liked in just sort of like it's the thrill and the storytelling. I like the moment when Luke is kind of moving back up the stairs. Their blades are crackling together. Always fun. And another great Hamill acting moment where he pushes Vader's blade a little bit and has that sort of like testing look, and he has that like it's a total. I said this wasn't much of a chess fight, but it's one of the chess moments of which way am I going to go? Which way am I going to go?
Yeah.
It's just cool, but it's also one of the moments that just shows like this isn't about Luke going, can I beat him? Luke seems so confident, right? In that moment of like, he had my number on Bespin, but not here, not today.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Ready for it. Thought he was ready for it. Yeah, is ready for it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least in the terms of just like the power, the skill, the lightsaber fight, right? So what are some other moments for you?
There's that moment where, Luke kind of just kicks Vader down the stairs. Vader does this wonderfully awkward. Again, does hold up for me 100%? Maybe not. But it's as a kid, just one of my favorite moments where Vader goes flying down the stairs. I kind of love when Vader has those awkward, it's the what from New Hope kind of moments where it's like, it's just so, you're reminded there's someone in there going, God damn it, that hurt. I love that. And
son of a.
So it's so great, but again, it's very aggressive, and the Emperor's calling it out there. That's the big moment where it's almost the preview for the decision he'll make in the end, because he does put his blade down, and that's the I will not fight you, Father, which is one of my favorite underrated Vader lines. Is you are unwise to lower your defenses. Like how many times I said that to my friends on the playground. It's just one of my favorite little beats, That's
a heck of a one to quote to your friends. You're unwise to lower your defenses, and the snowball comes.
Yeah. So
I guess not for you. The sand ball.
Yeah,
you made sand balls, right?
yeah. Dirt clods. Yeah.
That's an absolutely great one. That you're unwise to lower your defenses. I think perhaps just for like that's cool. I like that moment. My favorite lightsaber fight moment in this is the Vader's delivery. When Luke flips up there, which I think is cool, even though the flip is looks a little dated, but the flip up there, and he's telling Vader he feels the conflict and that there is no conflict. Absolutely love that. Followed up by the if you will not fight, then you will meet your destiny, and the hurl, the lightsaber throw. That is so cool. And Luke's kind of surprised, which he shouldn't be surprised at this point, in the dodge and everything about that. I love in Battlefront 2 throwing Vader's blade. I loved when Vader threw a blade at Reva in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I just love Vader throwing blades.
Yeah, no, man, it's something really cool. Yeah, it is press the X button to an R1 to make it happen, but it is as a kid that too was like terrifying in its own way. Like, oh, you could throw those? Oh man. Done for.
Yeah, you want to see the variety, right? And that's a good bit of variety there. Any other moments that you wanted to celebrate? Moments of thrill, character, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I just going to mention we talked about it a lot last week, but in already in this episode. But the shot of shots, Luke leaping out, the idea that the fear about his sister finally will break him. The music swelling, like I said, it was peak Star Wars. Even watching this morning, trying to tell myself now, remember, this is a moment of failure for Luke. It's hard because it's so great.
Yeah, it's an absolute failure, right? But I think probably where my head was at as a kid, right, when I was speculating incorrectly, not quite understanding and wanting it to be this huge Luke victory moment. This is the moment where after Luke screamed no and great shot, charging out with that lightsaber in front of him. Like I wanted this long, epic, multifaceted fight, right? And I think that sometimes we're like, well, the lightsaber fight could be bigger. Watching it this morning and watching it is just part of the lightsaber fight is part of the emotional story. Man, this is to me maybe some of the best filmmaking in Return of the Jedi. The tracking shot, right?
Yeah.
Where you're behind the stairs, you're not all up in the fight, and it's almost more like you're watching it from a distance because you're watching a tragedy. Because you're watching like an opera play out on a stage, and obviously the chorus music absolutely adds to that, and the fact that this is where any finesse is gone, right? Those are the huge sweeping. Luke's just I'm gonna batter your defenses to nothing. I am gonna make you wheeze, old man. The power of that and that little bit of distance and the tracking shot kind of lets us feel the tragedy ahead of time. It's that moment where Star Wars always has that tension between like, hey, we want you to enjoy the cool lightsaber fights and action adventure because it's a fun, thrilling story, and we always want to have action. It's fun. But then there's that part of us, but we're always leading towards it's often a tragedy when a fight has to happen. And by literally pulling away and sort of not glorifying it helps support that. Like, this is cool. It is fun to watch. It is a failure.
Yeah. And I don't, it's not a trick they're playing, but they are setting you up to, you're especially in the 80s. Again, we go to this is the 80s. You strap on your big gun and your muscles and you're a hero. The music's swelling, it's building this crescendo. You're pumped. Yes, no, Leia must survive. You can't. Luke's the hero, and it leads you to the true moment of heroism for Luke. But so it's not a trick. It's not we're gonna poke at your expectations. It's just going, yeah, this is what you might think because this is what Luke thinks in this moment.
Yeah,
and until he has his realization. So yeah,
absolutely. One thing I also want to be sure to shout out is the delivery of Sister. Everything about that scene, the revelation of it, but that is another the emphasis put on Sister. Such a great line delivery, and is one of the moments that made me really start celebrating the prequels. There are many moments in that journey from the first time I saw the films and like part of them. But this was the part for me where it's just like, okay, as a Star Wars fan, I don't care about a lot of those criticisms. I don't care how many people have decided that the prequels are bad. It is a fact. Stamp it, gavel it. It's done. When I really kind of felt on an emotional level of like, oh, I've always got what's happening here is, Vader wants him to fight. He's threatening the people he cares about. I get it. Knowing that Vader knows beyond a shadow of a doubt at this point in his life, this is how Palpatine broke me. It was a longer game, but that's how I'll break him. And it's a fast, brutal version. He's doing to his son a fast, brutal version of what was done to him, right? He's trading Leia for Padme.
I'm nodding. Yeah. And it's, obviously at that time, James Earl Jones doesn't know those films are coming, but there is a history there. Lucas has a lot of that there, and I'm sure some of it went into the read and Sister. The way the way it's drawn out, everything about it, it's really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely powerful. Any moments, other moments that you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Luke's ultimate victory, about Vader's choice in your mind? Is that part of the lightsaber fight, or not? No. How pedantic do we want to be?
Well, it is, but because there's one moment in the lightning you're talking about it. Look, it's part. Look, you and I could quote. We could spend hours on the Palpatine quotes all day. It's just. Even this morning, Grace thinks I'm crazy. I'm down the hall going, quoting just, like I'm doing a sing along with Palpatine. Just
use your aggressive feelings, boy.
That will come, and we can do that all day. But it's one of my favorite, just painful moments. The Luke's lightning teeth. Yeah, you have to talk about the lightning teeth, because he throws down the blade and it's painful. This is what it ends to. And so be it. Jedi is such a strong, evil follow-up to I am a Jedi like my father before me. And there's just something from then till now, seeing the lightning hit him's one thing. To see it go on his teeth, it's just everything about it. And I'm just wondering if Vader's like, oh, not the teeth. I got to take some action there. It just always has been one of my favorite little Star Wars moments.
Oh, this battle is the power of the teeth, right?
Yes.
You see the Palpatine's rotted teeth, so be it, Jedi, right? And is that what Vader is looking back and forth to? Of like, do I want my son to have that kind of Sith dental history? Do I want him to rot from the inside out?
I
do
mean,
I want him to die? Or yeah.
I mean, look, the poetry with Revenge of the Sith is strong, man. It's absolutely strong. And yeah, you know what? Do I need a no from Vader? No, I don't. But it's there. And what are you going to do? It's so, because it's that moment. It's just so much more than that. But yeah, absolutely. I don't want my son's face melted off by this monster. Enough's enough. I'm quitting my job.
Yeah, I think since we talked a little bit about Vader's motivation, I do just want to touch briefly on Vader's choice and the no. Obviously, we love Luke's choice. It is one of the defining moments of Star Wars. We've talked about it a lot. The total recognition of, I don't want to become somebody who is just trapped in this cycle of violence, and the great victory of throwing down the blade and recognizing that is what makes him a Jedi. Great line. Love the head nod to his father. A Jedi, like a Jedi, like my father before me. But then, Vader making that choice, I really do feel like he has resigned, right? Like this is turning out one of the ways he thought it would, right? Either Luke's going to break and he'll probably die. Vader will die, or Luke won't break and he'll die, right? And there's something in that moment, maybe the teeth, that finally lets Vader say, I can make a different choice. This turns out this prison is actually, I've assumed it's locked.
Yeah.
What if I push on the door? What if I make a different choice? For you, as we were analyzing this fight, what do you think is the key thing that makes Vader finally go, I don't have to be in this prison. I made this prison. I can step out of it.
It's very hard to discuss this right now and not mention the show we just watched. It's very hard. And this is a moment we could discuss without Kenobi, the series, because we've lived with this moment for so long. So I think it's all there. It all connects to it. But just this idea, the condition of victory talk that we are having a lot around here is very important because of what Kenobi says to him in that flashback training sequence. You're always looking to win, destroy, no mercy, none of that. And Vader, it's motivated first as a Jedi, then as a dark side agent. It eventually becomes about power to heal the wounds that he feels. That's how you do it. You just shove that power into that wound, and it gets better. That is the first time he gives up what Kenobi's talking about in that flashback, right? It's the condition of victory changes, and it's no longer about me winning. It is this sacrifice to save him, and that's the big change. And that's, again, been present in the story from 1983 on. But now it just has a little extra energy to me of him in that moment. I'm not saying he's flashing back to what Kenobi said or flashing back to his life, but just knowing, like you said, I can finally make a decision that is no longer about me. It is about someone else. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's absolutely powerful, that great Star Wars poetry of Anakin fell because he made a selfish choice about somebody he cared about. It wasn't about saving Padme. It was about saving himself from the pain of losing Padme. And here is somebody else he loves, not in theoretical danger in the future, but right there in front of him, going to die for sure.
Yeah.
And it isn't about how will I live my life if he dies. It is, he should go on. There's no reason he needs to die. It's a selfless choice instead of a selfish choice. But I also just think in terms of how did he get to that, right? Like, we had a great question about this a while back about how much does Luke's mercy play into Vader's choice here. And I think for me, there is a real power in learning from the next generation, right? Vader has sold himself this lie that Palpatine and the dark side believes that the Jedi are just lying. They're just as much about anger and vengeance, but they dress it up and they expose themselves to weakness because they claim they care about people. The truth is, we're all selfish deep down. Come on.
Yeah.
And he's seen people refute that. He saw Kenobi refute that, right? By walking away, right? He's seen people refute that again and again, but he doesn't let himself admit it. And he is the beneficiary of Luke's mercy this time around. And I think it's just that he stops lying to himself, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how strong did my son have to be to not cut me down after everything I've done to him? My son was that strong, and I'm going to stand here doing nothing? I really feel like it's like the son has shamed the father into making the better choice, you know?
Yes. Inspired him, spurred him on. Yes. I agree.
Controversially, I've changed my mind. I'm all about the no. Maybe people will rage quit the podcast. I respect the different opinion. Obviously, it worked in 1983. It's worked ever since 1983. But I think it's maybe because I have shifted, and this used to be Luke's story, and Vader was a player in it. And now when I watch it, it's Vader's story too. And I talked about this in a Star Wars counseling episode. Lucas goes and he makes his changes again and again, and they're often dubious, or at least a point of discussion and contention among fans. There's something about like this is one of the last changes he made along with McClunky before he handed it off. And there's something about like it's almost like George's voice. They're just like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I want to give voice to Vader. In these 6 films, you tie them all together. It's Anakin's story, as well as other characters. And I'm giving voice to Anakin. I'm giving him his voice back. And that's the way it feels to me when I watch it. For me, the no goes in that category where I'm like, if it was never there, I wouldn't have asked for it, which I know that's a lot of the argument. We did ask you to change it, George. But to engage with why it's there, and then to tie it to, because again, the no in Revenge of the Sith is challenging for a lot of people, right? So I think it has its own poetry of challenge poetry. It really is.
And I just engage with it differently now. So I am with you. I like it. I don't go, I probably had some snarky MySpace posts about it or something, or Facebook posts back then. But even then, I don't think so. It's not a problem for me. Again, when I say if it's not there, I don't miss it. It's not cynical. It's just, you wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known. It. But it's there, and it's part of the story, and with great purpose.
No, and I agree. It has worked ever since 1983. It didn't need it, but I'm finding power in it. And if nothing else, I do like the sort of the rebel in flannel. He's like, oh, I understand you didn't like this one Darth Vader. No, I'm adding another.
We're doing it again.
All right, let's talk about our lightsaber rating. So out of 10 lightsabers fully ignited, where does this fight rate for you?
Like a stubborn Sith refusing to change, I'm going to rank this one 9.5 because the 0.5 extra is for the dressed in all black motif from everyone there. And the 0.5 deduction from the perfect 10 has to do with that leap and some of the action reading a little different than it did back in 83, but I still love it with all my heart.
I think that's very good. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10. I think in terms of like an emotional battle, it's a 25 million out of 10. It is absolutely great. I do think it's just a little lower on the sort of the thrill end and the that's cool end. I think the little bit of like the scale and the scope and the way it's filmed, it feels like emotionally it's just as big, if not much bigger than Empire Strikes Back. But in terms of just sheer thrill, the actual lightsaber fighting is not as thrilling to me as Empire Strikes Back. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. Any final thoughts for right now?
I mean, there you go, listeners. The biggest rift in ForceCenter ever. 1 point difference on the final fight. No, I really love everything you're saying there. This particular episode was, 40 years in the making for me. So thrilled to do it.
Absolutely. This was really fun to re-examine these fights that have lived in my soul for a long time. My only final thought, rewatching both of these fights this morning before we recorded, I've always enjoyed how much Vader mentions Obi-Wan from the perspective of, he doesn't know Yoda's around. He thinks Obi-Wan has taught Luke a lot more. After the Obi-Wan show, it's really funny to watch. It's just like, you cannot keep that man's name out of your mouth. Let him go.
Can I just say this? And I mean, I'm going to say it. You can't. I guess you could tell me to edit it out later, Joseph. I don't mean to be snarky. I see one of the complaints of Kenobi being it doesn't add anything new to the story. So I don't know. Maybe y'all right. Maybe all the people that tweet that are right. I've loved this fight since I was 7. 46 now. I watched it this morning on the day of our recording this episode. And I have, again, keep saying new energy, but I have new thoughts in my head. I have new things that I look at and go, that might be what's in Vader's brain. So is it new in terms of a new setting, a new planet, new story, new canon, the characters doing something different? I guess that's a fair complaint. I really understand that. But for me, seeing a little bit more of the story expand and get to a little bit more explanation and doing for even the little things like you're saying there of you're not even done with Kenobi here. You're still saying his name. I love all that. And I'm really thankful for the series doing that to these classic films I've lived with my whole life.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll try a non-food based analogy here on ForceCenter. Apologies. But it's almost like, the individual stories are like paintings in a gallery, and you can stare at them and they're beautiful by themselves, but you put them right next to another painting and the rhythms and the energy and the lines in those other paintings and the other painting kind of starts to talk to each other. And that's the feeling that I'm having of like, I can get myself back to the mindset I, had for decades. And these films are a triumph by themselves. They don't need anything else, but it's wonderful that you can see new energy and new lines and new moments with this new context of the additional storytelling. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So there you go.
Excellent.
Final thought for me.
My final thought as well. So we will return very soon to discuss the lightsaber fights of the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. That is going to be very fun to get into those. Ken, do you want to let people know where they can find us?
Yeah, we're the ForceCenter podcast feed. We're on Twitter, ForceCenter Pod. We're on Instagram and YouTube as well. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. You can find us on Acast, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and more. If you're on there and you can rate and review and you want to, we'd appreciate if you do that. Helps the show. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. And you can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. From there, you can get into our Discord and have a wonderful conversation with ForceCenter friends about Star Wars and more in the Discord there. You can follow me at Napzok. Go to my website, napzok.com. July 21st, San Diego Comic-Con. I will not be at the convention, but I'll be up the street right there in the Gaslamp District at the American Comedy Company Thursday night on the Mark Ellis and Friends Comedy Show. So if you're out there, come on out, get some tickets. Let's have some fun and some laughs. Joseph, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is at Joseph Scrimshaw, and you can find all of my other comedy adventures on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. Lots of links there to all the stuff I've done in the past and the things I'll be doing in the future soon. But for now, this is it for myself, for Ken, for Lightsabers. This has been ForceCenter.